Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Hopefully you had a great weekend and a very good fantasy weekend. Let's just get straight into it. If you've been enjoying the content, make sure you like, comment and subscribe if you want to see how we go throughout the season. So touching on that season long element, we got a green arrow this week. Finally, once again, after last week's absolute shambles, we managed to get ourselves 77 points this week, which was about average, I think. We went up about 100,000 spots or so. I think I was around the 1.2 mark last week. So nice to be almost back inside the 1 million. Jordan Pickford, 1-pointer, could have been a lot worse with his unfortunate own goal. Then we've got a Stupinan there with a 2-pointer, Udoji with a 5, and Chilwell all struggling as well, which is a bit frustrating, but it is what it is. The defence this year for me is just not ideal. We're really struggling to keep clean sheets. I did start Vardiol, so you might have noticed that there was a difference in the team. I didn't actually start João Pedro. João Pedro came on off my bench for Vardiol. Once I saw Man City concede, I was actually quite happy that I was going to get Pedro. But then again, with Brighton playing the way they're playing, it would have been nice for Pedro to get an attacking return. But Ferguson had to hog all of those. Midfield for me was absolutely fantastic this week from the 4. So from Batoma and Buemo, Salah and Saka all getting returns, which was nice. No one got a major haul when we're going to look at some of those midfield options that have returned this week. I think, there's a bit of thinking to do around the long-term planning of the team with the international break coming up right now. But you're not going to complain when you get hauls from your whole midfield. So although some of them, I think Saka and Salah got the goal, Saka and Matoma with assists, and Buemo gets a really late goal there to probably save my game week. Then up front, we got some big problems. So João Pedro, I did say last week I don't want him coming on. That was just unfortunate that Vardiol didn't play for Man City. Nick Jackson we need to have a big chat about, and Haaland for everybody. The majority of the game would have captained Haaland. So for me, that's just, it was fantastic. I had a little thought late on triple captaining Haaland. That would have been absolutely brilliant if I managed to pull the trigger on that one, but it doesn't matter. I didn't get there. Nicholas Jackson, though, I'm starting to have my doubts on, is he going to be able to capitalise on these really good fixtures? I want to see what happens over the international break. There's a world where he might come out of the team because I've got a name on that board who I'm really liking the look of, and it's Hudson Edward. And we're going to take a bit of a look at Edward a little bit later in the video. But Jackson, I'm not convinced. So that's where my team's at the moment. We're not going to go into too much transfer planning so much for this, for my team. I'm going to go through some options, though, that I'm really considering bringing in moving forward. One of them is Bruno Fernandez, although he didn't have a great game today against Arsenal. The numbers speak volumes for themselves. So he's got, a 3, XGA really. It's almost pushing 4, and he's only had 2 returns, and he's really underperformed those expected points. My thought behind Bruno Fernandez is I'm really anticipating that once Amrabat comes into the team, he's going to get a real free license to be creative and play almost as a 10. Man United do have some decent fixtures coming up. I do need to remember to put those fixtures on the graphic here to the right. Sorry about that. But Bruno's just someone, he's on penalties, he plays all the minutes. He's just going to be someone who I know is going to return, throughout the whole FPL season. And I've taken a big risk not going with him. And it's not paid off for me once so far this year, but I think I've been pretty lucky with Bruno not returning. So speaking of midfielders, Hyun Min Sun, absolutely fantastic weekend for Sun owners. Coming in at 9 million, gets the 3 goals against Burnley, who looked absolutely dreadful. The reason Hyun Min Sun's on the screen here instead of Maddison is because of the position change. Sun goes inside to play up front, and I think this is a complete different ballpark. Sorry if the camera keeps moving as I keep knocking the laptop by mistake. But Sun is the type of player that if he's going to play up front, he's likely on penalties. I'm not taking too much note of his data at the moment because it's all come from the left-hand side. So I'd be looking at his Game Week 4 data in particular and taking it with a pinch of salt going into the next few weeks. Now, Spurs play Sheffield United coming out of the international break, and then they get Liverpool-Arsenal or Arsenal-Liverpool. I can't remember the order, but Hyun Min Sun is definitely someone worth looking at for your teams. If you've got Rashford and you want to move off of Rashford, Sun could be a good punt in there at 9 million. I haven't got James Maddison in this list with the data, but again, James Maddison is still a very, very good option, especially if Sun moves into the 10. If Son moves into the 9, Maddison's playing in the 10, and then it's one of Solomon or Brennan Johnson that takes that vacant left wing spot. I think the Spurs attack could be very much worth investing in. So The next one is a bit of a controversial one. It's Darwin Nunes. There might be a little bit of Liverpool bias here, but from what we saw against Newcastle for 20 minutes or so, plus, although the returns weren't there from a goal perspective against Aston Villa, Darwin Nunes looked absolutely fantastic. I know he's hit the post, I know he's hit the crossbar, and he's missed an open goal. In another world, he has 3 goals and an assist still with the flick on, but the raw chances are there for Darwin Nunes, and I think with continuity and with consistency in the team, he'll start to take those chances. And I know it's a bit of a troll because last year a lot of us had Darwin Nunes and he didn't take his chances, but he's a very, very high volume striker that Liverpool just look a lot better when he's in the team. And against Villa, we were able to press the ball a lot higher. He creates the corner for the first goal, so there's just a lot of things that happen when Darwin's on the pitch. When Gakpo and Jota are up there, they're a bit more when we're trying to control the game, and you might see Darwin come off. If we get 2 or 3 goals like we did yesterday, he will come off early and Gakpo will come on, and that will be the way that Liverpool try to control games. So Darwin will be very much a snatch and grab type of striker. If you've got him, he needs to get the returns quick early in the games and then get off. If you want the consistent minutes in that Liverpool attack, then you've got to pay up and obviously get Mo Salah. But Darwin Nunes, definitely someone on the watch list. We play Wolves away coming off the international break and then have a fantastic fixture run for quite a few weeks. So definitely one to keep your eyes on, especially if you're not sold on Nicholas Jackson. So if you need someone in the cheaper bracket, Hudson Edward is an absolute steal of a player at 5.5. People might say that this is reactionary because he's just come off scoring a double against Wolves, who we know aren't a great defence, but he has had 18 shots so far through 4 weeks. His underlying data is absolutely fantastic. I haven't got it all up on the screen for you, but if you do head over to Fantasy Football Hub, you'll be able to see the breakdown of his stats. And the volume of shots Hudson Edward is taking, and actually Eze is as well. And I don't have Eze on this list, but he is also a midfielder to look at. They are very, very solid options. For 5.5, one of my moves might be João Pedro straight to Hudson Edward. He's absolutely locked in for minutes. He's going to start every single game if he's fit, and he's the main threat up front. So Eze's creating for him. He's got other options around him. They're trying to feed Hudson Edward. Just someone, keep your eye on him for the next week or so. The Palace fixtures start to turn a lot better very soon as well. So Hudson Edward, for me, if you need a budget striker that's going to give you flexibility to be able to play the fixtures, could be the option for you. Speaking of budget strikers, just another one, just to keep a flag on. If I was choosing either Ferguson or Edward, I'd be going Edward, mainly because you're saving that 0.4 plus you get the expected minutes. Is there a world where I see Evan Ferguson starting to start long-term for Brighton in the Premier League? Yes, I do, which is why I've included him on the graphic. Looked absolutely fantastic this week against Newcastle, I believe they played. I think off the top of my head. Looked fantastic. Took his chances very, very well. Class striker, young striker. The question is the minutes. So he's hit the points and the expected points, and that's come with limited minutes. That's the issue we've had with Brighton all year. We've said, who's nailed? Who do we know is going to play? Ansu Fati comes in on the left. Is that going to be an issue for Matoma? Is he going to play on the right? Is that becoming a problem for Solly March? If you're prepared to take the minutes risk, I think Evan Ferguson could be a fantastic striker for your team. So this is where I'm looking at my side at the moment. This is obviously the team that played for me on the weekend. My bench had Vardiol, Bayer, and Anderson. So I've got 2 bench spots there that I'm not utilising. I was very, very bullish on getting rid of Salah this week. He's returned in something like 21 of his last 24 and 10 straight in the Premier League. I can't see a world where I get rid of Mo Salah, which means I'm sort of strapped with a bit less flexibility with my transfers. So I've got 2.5 in the bank. Whether I make a move on Nicholas Jackson to free up money to go somewhere else, that is probably very, very likely. And I know Chelsea have the fixture run, but I'm not convinced absolutely with everything. Now, we do have a lot of time between deadlines, so I'm not going to be making a move until at least next week because injuries happen, things change. I know there's no more transfer window, but I don't want to make a rash decision now chasing 0.1, 0.2 million, but then get someone in that gets injured. And that's what I would be recommending for you guys. So I've got a thought process. I want to get one of Bruno and Maddison in. I've got 2.5 million there in the bank, so I can kind of pivot if I need to. Matoma can go up to one of those two if I really need. or we make money other ways. The defense I don't really want to touch at this point because clean sheets have been extremely hard to predict, and I just think we need to start picking defenders that have attacking potential. Vardiol's my one defender there that I'm trying to bank on a clean sheet, and then he gets dropped or rested. So I don't know what I'm going to do there with Vardiol. We've got lots of problems, lots of options. Newcastle defense could be an option if you're going to go after Trippier, but I think I'm going to leave my transfers at this stage for next week. So if you have enjoyed the video, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and make sure you get over to the podcast at the FPL Show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or on YouTube at FPL Dopada if you want a bit more in-depth analysis of our plays this week.